Yesterday, today, tomorrow. A sort of prologue. Time flies by so quickly, yet the memories and scarce reels of footage bring those unforgettable days back to life. 1982, Nobel Prize laureate academician Alexander Prokhorov. The General Physics Institute of the Russian Academy of Sciences is an institute of many disciplines, where many various fields are being developed. This fact is highly important, as it allows scientists from various different fields to interact. And this, in turn, makes it possible to solve new and complicated tasks. Our institute is comprised of divisions led by significant scientists who are widely acknowledged both in our country and abroad. Sometime later, Alexander Prokhorov saw to the establishment of new structural divisions within the GPI. The Fiber Optics Research Center, directed by academician Dianov. The Laser Materials and Technology Research Center, directed by academician Osiko. The Wave Research Center, directed by academician Bunkin. And the Natural Sciences Center, which is currently directed by corresponding member of the Russian Academy of Sciences, Konov. Back in 1982, the president of the USSR's Academy of Sciences, Anatoly Alexandrov, signed a decree of the Presidium on the establishment of the General Physics Institute and the appointment of academician Alexander Prokhorov as its director. Those 25 years ago seemed like they were yesterday. And it is only the former young people who have come of age, and gray hair has silvered their temples. Everything here is just the way it was during Alexander Prokhorov's lifetime. Only the seat he used to take remains vacant, as no one dares to occupy it. It is a memory of him. A former student of Prokhorov and now a corresponding member of the Russian Academy of Sciences, Ivan Sherbakov, has become director of the institute. Alexander Prokhorov is remembered here, and his wonderful traditions are being carried on. He established his own intellectual atmosphere of living and a brilliant school of students and associates. Academician Evgeny Dianov. Back when the institute was being established, we went through a long discussion around what title to give it. All kinds of different propositions were made. And then suddenly Alexander Prokhorov said, the best title would be the General Physics Institute, as such a title would make it possible to carry out any kind of physical research within the institute. This was a very wise decision, and today the institute is probably most famous for the broad scope of its research. Director of the GPI, corresponding member of the Russian Academy of Sciences, Ivan Sherbakov. I never thought that I would become director of the institute. I was like a kitten cast into the waters, as they say. However, Alexander Prokhorov provided a great deal of assistance, and he did so in his usual wise manner. He didn't pressure anyone, nor did he force his own opinions, and yet his assistance was felt in every matter. Personally, I think that the choice Alexander Prokhorov made was the correct one. Ivan Sherbakov is a relatively young person, a very competent and capable physicist, and he plays an important role in the life of the institute. He aims to maintain the scientific level of the institute. It is a very important fact that the director aims all of his efforts towards this goal. Chapter 1. Magic Crystals. The Laser Materials and Technology Research Center at the General Physics Institute was established in 1961, 20 years before the institute itself appeared as an independent body. Today, the center produces materials that provide for the development of quantum electronics in Russia. Crystals of flawless structure can today be found in laboratories all across the world, and they are in high demand. Academician Vyacheslav Osiko. This center has seen to the development of a unique technology that has already spread across the world. The technology of melting and crystallizing especially refractory materials inside cold crucibles. One famous product of this technology are finite crystals, which are very well known today and are one of the most widely produced crystals in the world. 2,000 to 3,000 tons of these crystals are produced across the world each year. They are mostly used to make jewelry and decorative wear. Here, for example, are samples of jewelry insets made from these crystals. They imitate the optical properties of diamond very well, and this is why they've often been used to imitate diamonds, especially in past years. Many women across the world wear them every day as decorations. This is an installation for melting refractory materials. You can see that it is a large semi-industrial machine. This is known as the cold container. Its copper elements are cooled by running water, while inside roars a melting temperature of some 3,000 degrees centigrade. This is a somewhat paradoxical technology that combines seemingly incompatible fire and cold. 3,000 degrees on the inside and the temperature of cold water on the outside. You can touch these pipes without burning your hands. As a result, crystallization inside this cold container produces completely new materials with some fantastic properties. Chapter 2. The Saudi Guard Dog. Since the beginning of time, people have always known that a dog's sense of scent is the finest, most precise and reliable. The General Physics Institute has developed a highly sensitive instrument called the electronic nose, which surpasses even a dog's nose. Just like many other projects, the work on developing this instrument was launched upon the initiative of Alexander Prokhorov. Professor Sergei Olimpiev. I remember when I came to see him and how I said, "We've been measuring the sensitivity of the instrument and it seems very good to us. We think that it is even better than that of a dog, but we still cannot say for certain whether it is in fact better or worse." And he replied, "Well, that won't be difficult. Just bring a dog in, hide something with a scent, and you'll see straight away which is better, your instrument or the dog." As always, everything ingenious is simple. The principle behind this method is much like the sense of scent. The scientists have created a nanostructured silicon surface. Molecules of matter strike the surface as neutral bonds. Upon minimal laser exposure, they then turn into ions and leave the surface. All the scientists knew very well that such ions are easy to detect. This is a principle of how this artificial nose functions. We humans also have something of the same sort, an evolved surface struck by neutral bonds, which then turn into ions and excite our perceptive nerve endings. All of this is then transmitted into our computer, the human brain, and we're able to determine the scent. A dog does all of this better than we do, and this instrument does it better than both a dog and a human.
Этот метод запатентован, и у нас несколько патентов.
This method has been patented. We have several patents for this method, and we are using its basic principles to develop a completely new class of instruments in order to detect the composition of various organic bonds in the air. Furthermore, this method has also proven very effective for analyzing complex bioorganic bonds.
И для анализа сложных биоорганических соединений.
We are also using it to analyze several medical products. Chapter 3. Terahertz Spectroscopy. Today, there is a field of physics known as terahertz spectroscopy. 1 hertz is 1 oscillation per second, and a million oscillations is 1 terahertz. This spectrum is traditionally considered very difficult for spectroscopy, but this is just what makes the issue so interesting to scientists. The main designation of the Department of Submillimeter Spectroscopy is carrying out fundamental research into condensed mediums within a broad interval of frequencies. Special attention is given to the submillimeter section of the spectrum and the development of methods and instruments for carrying out radiophysical measurements within this range. The importance of such research is determined not only by the richness of physical phenomena that take place within the spectrum, but is also connected to the necessity of its further practical development. Candidate of Physical Mathematical Sciences, Boris Gorshunov. Fundamental measurements are what ultimately lie at the basis of mobile communication, and so on and so forth. This could very well be said. The list includes radar control of traffic to ensure that cars don't crash into each other, radio wave imaging, military for example, when millimeter or terahertz emission is used to acquire images of tanks, armored vehicles, soldiers. This also includes control measurements in, say, airports, where we can scan clothes or luggage without using X-rays, which are ionizing and somewhat harmful. Terahertz emission, on the other hand, is completely harmless, and it can be used for the same purposes as X-rays. This unique instrument has no analogs anywhere in the world. It was developed completely by our General Physics Institute and is being perfected every year by the members of our department who are present here at the moment. The instrument has been developed into an enclosed machine, counting these measuring nodes, software and electronics, which bind it all together. Chapter 4. High-speed photography. Can a human eye, which passes 80% information into the human brain, see what is happening inside the wagon of a passing bullet train? It seems not. This would require at least some tenths of a second, while the whole process takes place even faster than that. What must be done in order to see what is happening? Take notice of the fact that all of the instruments here are made by the scientists themselves. They have decided to shoot a ray and acquire an image of the train, then focus on the object of interest and display the image at the speed of the passing train. The picture can be stopped and we can take a look at whatever we want. The first experiments were carried out back in the 1950s at the Kurchatov Institute and were directed by Zavoysky. It should be especially noted that the ideology of high-speed electro-optical photography is purely Russian by nature. The electro-optical transformer that the scientists are working on utilizes impulses down to 10 femtoseconds, which is the minimum length necessary for laser research. Physicists at the GPI, however, need even shorter impulses in order to advance in their research. This is the task being solved by the members of the photoelectron department. The scientific school for laser-oriented high-speed electro-optical diagnostics that has been established at the GPI is notable for a high level of international authority and has been uniting the efforts of highly qualified specialists for many decades. Amongst the most noticeable events of the past few years is the uninterrupted work of the Technological Scientific Research Chain, established at the end of the 1980s and aimed at designing, developing and producing experimental samples of time-analyzing photoelectron guns and cameras on their basis. Professor Mikhail Shelev. Alexander Prokhorov possessed enormous scientific erudition, a huge volume of knowledge, and, most important of all, a vision of the future. He understood that such high-speed photography based upon new methods of electro-optical detection would be incredibly useful for laser physics, plasma physics,